Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jadi kita sambung kita punya lecture on acquired immunity. Okay, before we start, you must know how we get this acquired immunity. So, this acquired immunity will develop after exposure to inducing agent. When we expose to the pathogen or the disease, our body will develop the acquired immunity or the adaptive immunity. Second, we can get this type of immunity from vaccine. And then we also can get this acquired immunity from the person who already infected by the pathogen and then the person has been recovered. So we extract the blood serum from the individual and get the serum as the immune sources. Okay, so the acquired immunity is very specific, but it has slower response to specific microbes compared to the innate immunity. There are two types of acquired immunity. We have the humoral immunity, which involve in the production of antibodies, okay, by the B cells. And then we have cell-mediated immunity, which involve with the action by cytotoxic lymphocyte, okay. This is a diagram on acquired immunity, okay. There are two types of acquired immunity, the humoral response and the cell-mediated immunity. Alright, we go into the first action by the antigen, okay. When we first exposure to the antigen, that antigen, okay, this antigen actually refer to the pathogen, okay. Antigen ni ialah protein yang attach pada membrane pathogen tadi, okay. So dia ada banyak binding site. Okay, binding site yang berada pada pathogen kita namakan sebagai antigen. Okay, when this antigen, okay, exposed to the body, okay, so antigen will be engulfed by the antigen presenting cell. Okay, antigen presenting cell ni ialah satu sel, contohnya seperti dendritic cell. Okay, dendritic cell dia akan makan pathogen tadi. Once dia dah lyse, okay, dia dah kill that pathogen, they will form a protein. The protein, okay, that act as a marker to the cell. Okay, so this marker is actually a signal or information. Okay, dia bagi signal pada badan kita yang mana bagi tahu bahawa dia telah makan pathogen. So dalam badan kita sekarang ada pathogen, ada invader. So what happen, the antigen presenting cell ni dia akan menyebabkan, okay, helper T cell, okay, menyebabkan helper T cell to be produced, okay, ataupun start to be activated. Okay, so this helper T cell, they will stimulate two types of cell, okay, B cell and cytotoxic T cell. So dia akan merangsang, okay, merangsang kedua-dua sel ni, B cell dan juga cytotoxic cell, untuk get ready bahawa badan kita ada invader. And then at the same time, the helper T cell also give rise to the memory T cell. Okay, kenapa perlu ada memory T cell? Supaya sel yang ada menyimpan memori berkenaan pathogen ini, in case there is a second exposure for the same antigen, our body dah get ready dengan tindakan yang sama yang sebelum ini mereka dah ambil. So that is the function of memory helper T cell. So memory helper T cell will stimulate both the memory B cell and memory cytotoxic cell if there is a second exposure for the same antigen. Okay, apa yang awak perlu tahu untuk B cell dan cytotoxic T cell, kedua-duanya akan membunuh, okay, akan membunuh pathogen tersebut, tetapi caranya berbeza. Yang pertama ialah B cell. Apa yang B cell buat? Dia akan membentuk dua jenis sel. Okay, yang pertama plasma cell, iaitu dalam darah kita. Yang kedua ialah memory B cell. Plasma cell will secrete antibodies. Okay, sel yang akan menghasilkan antibody ialah plasma cell, bukan memory B cell, ya. Plasma cell yang akan menghasilkan antibodies, and then antibodies akan pergi bind dengan antigen pada pathogen tersebut, and then dia akan lyse-kan, dia akan membunuh, menghancurkan. Meanwhile, the memory B cells will keep the memory on that particular pathogen. So if there is another second attack for the same pathogen, the memory B cell will ask the plasma cell to produce the same antibodies like previous. Okay, but for cytotoxic cell, fungsi dia berbeza. Kerana apa? Sebab dia hanya akan attack sel kita yang telah dikawal oleh pathogen. Okay, contohnya ini ialah sel badan kita. Okay, so dekat luar ni dia banyak pathogen. Okay, pathogen di luar. Tetapi pathogen ni masih di luar sel. Dia belum ada dalam sel lagi. Dia belum invade lagi sel kita. Okay, but once dia dah masuk dalam badan kita, okay, so cytotoxic T cell akan attack the whole cell. Dia akan membunuh keseluruhan sel kita. But for plasma cell, dia hanya akan pergi attack kepada pathogen yang belum invade sel dengan cara membebaskan antibodies. Okay, antibodies tu akan attach pada binding site pada pathogen. Okay, so dia akan hancurkan semuanya. Okay, but cytotoxic T cell dia akan attack pada specific cell that already invaded by the pathogen. So that is the difference between B cell action and cytotoxic T cell action. Alright. So this is about antigens. Antigens tu maksudnya any foreign molecules that can trigger a specific immune response. So these antigens are actually made up of proteins or polysaccharide. And they have epitope. Okay, epitope ni apa? Epitope ni ialah recognition site. Kalau awak tengok, there are differences in the shape. Okay, shape of the site. Okay, recognition site are also known as antigenic determinants. Okay, jadi untuk setiap antigen, mereka ada epitope yang berbeza. Okay, contoh antigen by bacteria Salmonella, dia punya epitope lain, tak sama dengan antigen bacteria cocci for example. Okay, so dia punya tempat pelekatan tu berbeza. So tempat pelekatan tu yang kita namakan sebagai epitope. So this is epitope, a localized region on the surface of an antigen that is chemically recognized by the antibodies. Okay, a lymphocyte actually recognize and binds to the epitope. So lymphocyte ni refer to our white blood cell ataupun our immune system. So dia hanya akan mengenal pasti pathogen yang masuk dalam badan melalui bentuk-bentuk epitope tadi. Okay. Okay, so the characteristic of B cell and T cell. Okay, B cell and T cell receptor berbeza bentuk. Okay. Okay, walaupun mereka berasal daripada bone marrow, okay, tetapi mereka matang di tempat yang berbeza. Okay, for example, B cell mature in bone marrow, but T cell they mature in the thymus. Okay, sebelum T cell ini pergi ke thymus untuk matang di sana, dan juga B cell sebelum dia matang di bone marrow, daripada red bone marrow and then move to bone marrow. Okay, mereka berdua actually sudah ada protein, okay, specific protein untuk binding site. But when they are going to mature, okay, bila dia nak matang, okay, dia ada sedikit modification ataupun distinctive character in the protein binding site. Itu yang membezakan kedua-dua reseptor ni. Okay, so macam mana kita nak kenal pasti B cell dengan T cell? Okay, B cell they have a heavy chain, two heavy chain, okay, and then they have two light chain. So this is the heavy chain of B cell, and then this is the light chain of the B cell, and both of the chain are linked by the disulfide bridge here. Okay, so this is the antigen binding site. Okay, so bentuk antigen binding site ni kita panggil epitopes. Alright. Okay, so meanwhile for the T cell, they only have the alpha chain and beta chain. Okay, and both of the chain are attached by the disulfide bridge. Okay, if you can see the position of disulfide bridge juga berbeza antara kedua-dua sel. Okay, okay, B cells secrete antibodies that attack antigens. Remember, only B cell will secrete antibodies. T cell dia tidak menghasilkan antibodies. Jangan keliru ya. Okay, T cell hanya akan attack the cells that already infected with pathogen. Sel yang dah memang ada pathogen dalam dia, dia akan bunuh sel tersebut. Jadi T cell ni lebih spesifik. Okay, dia akan attack hanya sel yang telah invaded ataupun infected with pathogen. Contoh-contohnya ialah sel yang dah infected by viruses, ataupun biasanya action of T cell ni terlibat dalam cancer cell. Okay, sel yang dah infected with cancer. And ada juga untuk macam transplant organ. Okay, bila kita melakukan transplant, sometimes donor punya organ tu tak compatible with the patient. Okay, so what happen is that the T cell from the patient will attack the donor's organ. Okay, dia akan attack donor's organ sebab dia rasa benda tu ialah invader ataupun any foreign material yang menyebabkan dia rasa tak selamat. Okay, itu ialah action of T cell. Dia akan attack specific cell. Okay, kalau B cell dia attack dengan cara releasing the antibodies. Okay, secret antibodies. Okay, so this is about generation of B cell and T cell. How B cell and T cell generated? We know that both of the cell are produced in the red bone marrow, but they mature in different places. Okay, and the origin of self-tolerance. What is self-tolerance? Please do some homework on self-tolerance. And the proliferation of B cells and T cell. Proliferation here means the multiplication. Why the B cell and T cells are multiply? Okay, multiply. When there is a pathogen, when our body detect the presence of pathogen, the cells and T cells will be stimulated by the helper T cell. Still remember that the previous diagram. Okay, helper T cell akan stimulate the production of B cell and T cell. Okay, baru dia akan start cloning. Okay, cloning section. And then the immunological memory. So dalam sistem badan kita, sistem imun kita ada memory. So memory tu dikawal oleh helper T cell memory dan juga B cell memory and cytotoxic T cell memory. Okay, so this is the origin. Okay, the production of B cell and T cell start from the pluripotent cell. So this pluripotent cell is a very genuine cell that can divide many types of blood cells, and they will form lymphoid stem cell. So the lymphocyte, okay, the lymphocyte, B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte are originated from the lymphoid stem cell. Okay, so this is generation of B cell and T cell. Okay, so I think this one you can read. I have explained previously. Okay, but the thing you have to know is the plasma membrane. Okay, for the last second paragraph. Okay, the plasma membrane of both B cell and T cell, they have about 100,000 of antigen receptor that all recognize the same epitope. So for B cell, okay, they have about 100,000 antigen, okay, on their plasma membrane, and all these antigen they have the same epitope. So actually we don't have only one type of B cell in our body. Kita ada banyak jenis B cell. Okay, banyak jenis B cell. Okay, sebab B cell ni fungsi dia untuk generate antibodies. So antibodies hanya akan dihasilkan, akan dikeluarkan bukan untuk hanya satu pathogen saja, tapi banyak jenis pathogen. Disebabkan antibodies ni sifat dia spesifik, jadi satu jenis antibodies hanya boleh attack particular pathogen. Jadi dalam badan kita ada banyak B cells, dan setiap B cells tu dia ada banyak jenis epitope. Okay, tapi untuk satu jenis B cell semua epitope dia adalah sama. Okay, kalau ni B cell jenis yang kedua, epitope dia juga lain lah, tak sama macam yang tadi. Okay, alright. So please jangan confuse, okay, antara B cell dan juga T cell. Kedua-duanya bertindak sama, fungsi dia sama, cuma cara di action tu quite different. Okay, so we go into, so this is the summary on the origin of the B cell and T cell. Okay, they start from lymphoid stem cell. Okay, and then they form the lymphocyte in bone marrow, and then the lymphocyte consists of B cell and T cell. Okay, so this one you can read from your slide. Okay, so this is again the same explanation on the lymphoid stem cell generate into B cell and T cell. Okay, so we can find this B cell and T cell in the blood, in the lymph and the lymphoid tissues. Okay. Okay, so this is again the lymphocyte development. Okay, it start from the hematopoietic stem cell. Hematopoietic stem cell referring to the blood. Okay, blood. This is the process of production of blood. Okay, hematopoietic. Okay, the stem cell means the cell tu masih lagi original, dia belum divide into red blood cell, white blood cell. Okay, dia boleh membahagi kepada banyak jenis darah. Okay, okay, so untuk lymphoid stem cell, okay, dia dalam lymphoid lineage. Okay, dia akan masukkan B cell, T cell and natural killer cell. Okay, ni ialah group dia. But for myeloid stem cell, dia akan menghasilkan red blood cell, platelets, monocyte, eosinophil, basophil and neutrophil. Semua ni ialah white blood cell, tapi dia menggunakan action yang berbeza. Okay, yang ni yang menggunakan lymphoid stem cell ni, ni yang terlibat dalam awak punya acquired immunity. Okay, so this one about origin of self-tolerance. Saya nak minta awak study sedikit. What is self-tolerance? Okay, self-tolerance of T cell. Yang ni saya nak minta awak study sedikit dan buat sedikit catatan lah di Teams di bahagian assignment. Alright. Okay, now we go into proliferation of B cell and T cell. Okay, so in a primary immune response, okay, binding of antigen to a mature lymphocyte induce the lymphocyte proliferation and differentiation, a process called clonal section. So maksud dia kat sini ialah bila ada antigen, okay, okay, antigen ni refer to the pathogen lah. Okay, so this is pathogen. Dia ada antigen dekat dia punya plasma membrane. So bila antigen bind to the lymphocyte, for example this is lymphocyte, okay, they bind. So the binding ni akan initiate, akan memulakan proses multiplication of lymphocyte. Dia seolah-olah mengaktifkan kita punya sel lymphocyte untuk clone, untuk menghasilkan lebih banyak lymphocyte sebab dah ada pathogen dalam badan. Tu maksudnya. So clonal selection means proliferation of a lymphocyte into a clone of cells in response to binding and antigen. Okay, maksudnya bila dah ada binding, dia akan memberi rangsangan ataupun memberi info bahawa there is a pathogen in our body. So the lymphocyte must be clone. Okay, kena hasilkan lebih banyak clone of lymphocyte supaya badan kita boleh makan ataupun kills that kind of pathogen. So this is the process of clonal selection of B cell. So this your B cell population. So ada banyak jenis B cell with different antigenic determinants ataupun different epitopes. Okay, once they bind to the, okay, they bind to the epitope, dia akan start cloning section. Okay, so dia dah start cloning, dia menghasilkan lebih banyak B cell. So this B cell, they will produce plasma cell and part of it will form memory cell. Okay, so this plasma cell they will secrete antibodies. Okay, so these antibodies will bind to the pathogen punya antigen. Okay, ataupun dia akan memusnahkanlah pathogen tadi. But for the memory cells, they will keep that kind of pathogen. Okay, struktur pathogen tu dia akan kenal pasti apa ciri-ciri pathogen tu, macam mana bentuk antigen yang attach pada plasma membrane pathogen tu, semua dia akan memorize that kind of information. In case there is a second exposure for the same pathogen, so dia akan terus menghasilkan, dia akan terus induce the plasma cell untuk menghasilkan antibody yang sama. Okay, so the character for plasma cell, they are short-lived activator cell. Once they kill the antigen, dia akan hapus macam tu. Okay, habis. But for the memory cell, they long-lived. They still ada dalam blood circulation kita sampai bila-bila. Okay, sampai bila-bila ataupun sampai sel tu mati, and then dia akan generate the same cell lah to keep that memory. Okay, so these are the clonal section. Okay, so this is B cells that differ in antigen specificity. So this is about more to summary. Okay, the antigen molecules bind to the antigen receptor of only one of the 3 B cells shown. The selected B cell proliferate, okay, means they multiply, forming a clone of identical cell bearing receptor for the selecting antigen. Some proliferating cells develop into long-lived memory cells that can respond rapidly upon subsequent exposure to the same antigen. Meanwhile, some proliferating cells will develop into short-lived plasma cells that secrete antibodies specific for the antigen. So that is the action of B cell. Okay, the second immune response, which involves immunological memory. Okay, so the memory cells are activated and stimulated by the same antigen that enters the body another time to divide rapidly, producing a larger clone of lymphocyte, facilitating a faster and more efficient response. So that is the function of memory cell for both B cell and T cell. Okay, so this is about the second immune response, when our body already have the memory on that particular pathogen. Okay, so let's see the first day exposure to antigen A. Okay, so this graph, okay, this is the X and Y. Okay, so kita tengok untuk X ialah referring to time, and Y is the antibody concentration. So this is first day when the body exposed to the antigen A. What happened here? Okay, the level of antibody, okay, the antibody concentration, they high at this peak, okay, and then they will reduce, okay, they reduce, and here, okay, they will primary response to antigen A produce antibodies to A. Okay, right. Day 28, second exposure. So when there is second exposure to the same antigen, awak tengok pada penghasilan antibody dia terus meningkat sebab dia dah ada memory to that particular pathogen. Okay, and then bila pathogen tu dah dihapuskan ataupun dah mati, the level of antibody akan gradually decrease. Okay, so that is for antibody A, yang mana badan kita dah pernah expose kali pertama dan menghasilkan antibody, and then we have exposed to the second exposure for the same pathogen, and then the production of antibodies dia terus memuncak naik. Okay, let's see for the antibody B. Antibody B, okay, a primary response. So this one is considered as primary response sebab dia baru mendapat, okay, exposed to the antigen yang ini, antigen yang baru lah. So baru dia nak start. So kat sini dia akan develop memory. If there is second exposure for the same pathogen, so the antibody B untuk for second exposure juga akan meningkat sama macam antibody A tadi. Alright. Okay, so this is about the summary on the both immune response. Okay, first exposure to antigen. Antigen engulf and displayed by dendritic cell. So that will activate the helper T cell. Helper T cell will give rise to active and memory helper T cell. Okay, so this helper T cell will help the B cell to activate and also the cytotoxic T cell. B cell will produce plasma cell which secrete antibodies, and some of the cell will form memory B cell. Meanwhile, for cytotoxic T cell, they will give rise into memory cytotoxic cell and active cytotoxic cell. This active cytotoxic cell will defend against infected cell, for example, cancer cell, cells that infected by viruses, and also transplanted tissues. Okay, so this is again about the components of the cell-mediated and humoral immunity. So cell-mediated immune response involve the activation and clonal selection of T cell, which resulting in a clone T cell. So clone T cell consists of helper T cell. Okay, Helper T cell fungsi dia untuk membantu other white blood cell in the immunologic process, including maturation of B cell into plasma cell and memory B cell, and activation of T cells and macrophage. And the second type of T cell, we have cytotoxic T cell, also known as killer T cell. So these cytotoxic, they will destroy the infected cell. Okay, and we also have memory T cell, which is antigen specific T cell that persists long term after the infection has been resolved. Okay, so yang ni aku kena ingat lah jenis-jenis T cell yang ada. Kita ada helper T cell. Apa fungsi helper T cell? Cytotoxic cell, T cell, and memory T cell. Okay, for this is about humoral immune response. Kalau humoral immune response, awak kena ingat dia melibatkan B cell dan juga production of the antibodies. So siapa yang menghasilkan antibodies? Plasma cell. Okay, but for memory B cell, dia hanya mengumpul memory for the same pathogen and ready for the next invasion. Okay, so this is another diagram that differentiates both of the immune response. Okay, I think you can read this. Okay, and then we go into the last subchapter, antibody classes. Okay, there are 5 major classes of antibodies. These antibodies also known as immunoglobulins. Okay, from the word globulins is referred to the protein. Okay, so antibody ni made up of protein. So apa perbezaan antara kelima-lima kelas ini? Okay, yang pertama, dia berbeza dari segi distribution. Dekat mana kita boleh dapati? Okay, setiap antibody ini lokasi mereka tak sama. Ada yang dalam breast milk mother, ada yang dalam placenta. Okay, kedudukan dia tak sama dan juga fungsi juga berbeza. Okay, so there are 5 of them. Okay, so these are the explanation. For example, we have IgM or pentamer. Okay, the first Ig class produced after initial exposure to antigen, then its concentration in the blood declines. So the functions of IgM promotes neutralization and agglutination. Agglutination ialah penggumpalan of antigens. So bila ada antigen, dia akan gumpal antigens tersebut. Very effective in complement activation. The second class is IgG, or also called monomer. Most abundant Ig class in blood, also present in tissue fluid. Only Ig class that crosses placenta. Okay, maksudnya dekat sini dia satu-satunya antibody yang boleh cross placenta antara ibu dan anak. Okay, and then we go into IgA, also known as dimer, present in secretions such as tears, saliva, mucus, and breast milk. Okay, so the function to provide localized defense of mucous membranes by agglutination and neutralization of antigens present in breast milk, confer passive immunity on nursing infant. So IgA ni juga sebagai passive immunity untuk anak, baby lah, bayi yang masih menyusu ibu. Okay, and then we have IgE, trigger release from mast cell and basophil of histamine and other chemical that causes allergic reaction. And the last is IgD, present primarily on surface of naive B cell that have not been exposed to antigens. So these IgD act as antigen receptor in antigen stimulated proliferation and differentiation of B cell. Okay, so that is the 5 types of the antibody classes. Okay, so this is about the active and passive immunization. Okay, for active, develop naturally in response to an infection, can also develop following immunization, also called vaccination. Okay, and immunization or vaccination is non-pathogenic form of a microbe or part of a microbe elicit an immune response to an immunological memory for that microbe. Okay, for passive immunity, they provide immediate and short-term protection. So they convert naturally when IgG crosses the placenta. So this is type of immunity. Okay, from mother to fetus, or when IgA passes from mother to infant in breast milk, can be conferred artificially by injecting antibodies into a non-immune person. So this is the mind map of the immune system. Okay, so this is our immunity divided into innate and acquired. So in acquired, there are two types, active and passive. Okay, active, for example, the natural exposure to infectious agent. Okay, active means our own antibody. Our body produce our own antibodies by itself. Okay, yang pertama kita expose kepada antigen tersebut, and then later our body secrete the antibodies. And the second, by artificial immunization. Contohnya vaccination. Okay, kita dah ada vaksin, kita dah ada pathogen dalam badan kita, tapi pathogen dalam bentuk yang lemah terhadap penyakit tersebut. So badan kita akan develop antibody terhadap pathogen tersebut. Okay, that is artificial immunization. But it's still underactive sebab badan kita yang menghasilkan antibody itu tersebut. Okay, dia menghasilkan berdasar kepada pathogen yang kita ambil melalui vaksin tadi. Tapi pathogen tu ialah yang lemah lah, pathogen yang sudah dilemahkan. But for passive, we also have natural and artificial. From natural is by maternal antibodies, and artificial is antibodies from other source. Okay, contoh daripada maternal ni dari segi satu ialah breast milk. Okay, but for artificial antibodies from other source ni contoh daripada serum. Contoh kalau kita gigit serangga ataupun haiwan yang berbahaya, okay, kita akan ambil serum. Serum tu akan terus membunuh pathogen yang masuk dalam badan kita, but it is very short-lived. Short-lived antibody lah. Dia hanya bertahan untuk tempoh tersebut sahaja. Bila masa kita kena lagi diserang oleh gigitan yang berbahaya, contohnya digigit ular ataupun digigit lipan, so kita kena ambil second shot, kena ambil shot yang lain. Dia tak akan kekal dalam badan kita. Okay, sebab tu dinamakan passive or ready-made antibodies. Okay, so that's all. So this is about stress and the immune system. Growing evidence shows that physical and emotional stress can harm the immunity. So this is according to the research. So they say that kalau kita stress juga akan melemahkan sistem imun badan kita. Okay, so please don't stress. Okay, macam mana cara tak nak stress? Kalau awak rasa belajar biologi stress, banyaknya benda nak kena ingat kan. So banyakkan membaca. Okay, banyakkan membaca, banyakkan bertanya. Bila awak membaca tu, awak akan banyak tahu banyak perkara lah, banyak tahu perkara dan info-info yang lebih. Okay, jadi dekat situ akan memudahkan awak untuk faham sesuatu terms ataupun sesuatu topik tu dengan lebih detail. Dan jangan prepare last minute. Okay, sebab bila kita prepare last minute ni, kita kelang kabut sedikit. At the same time, kita banyak perkara nak kita buat. So manage your time. Okay, and then susun jadual tu cantik-cantik. Kalau ada apa-apa masalah, selalu berhubung dengan kawan-kawan, banyakkan perbincangan ataupun boleh berbincang dengan lecturer. Alright, okay, that's all for this topic, immune system. Okay, thank you very much for your time.